Since decades, India has been known as the pharmacy of the world. We supplied around 20% of the world's generic medicines by volume, and Indian pharmaceutical companies export medicines to more than 200 countries and territories. But there was one thing India was not known for: inventing completely new drugs. Most medicine made in India were affordable versions of drugs that had already been discovered by companies in other countries. But that is changing as an Indian pharmaceutical company, Wockhardt, has developed Zaynich, the first antibiotic to be discovered, developed, and commercialized entirely by an Indian company, to receive an approval from the US Food and Drug Administration or the FDA. This makes it India's first internationally approved indigenous antibiotic based on a new chemical entity developed by an Indian company. But why is everyone calling this a breakthrough? To understand that, we first need to understand the problem Zaynich is trying to solve. The problem, since the discovery of antibiotics, they have transformed modern medicine. Diseases that were deadly once became treatable. Simple surgeries became much safer. Even routine infections could be cured with just a few days of medication. But bacteria don't stay the same. They evolve every time antibiotics are used. Most bacteria die, but a few may survive because of natural genetic differences. Those surviving bacteria multiply and pass on their resistance. Over time, the antibiotic that once worked perfectly becomes less effective. This process is called antimicrobial resistance or AMR, and bacteria that can survive multiple antibiotics are commonly called as superbugs. Why is this becoming a global health crisis? According to health experts, antimicrobial resistance is now one of the biggest threats of modern medicine. Doctors are increasingly seeing infections that are no longer responding to medicines that worked just a few years ago. This is especially serious in hospitals, where patients are already vulnerable because of surgery, cancer treatment, or weakened immune systems. Many of these infections are caused by bacteria such as E. coli, pneumoniae, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa, organisms that have developed resistance to multiple antibiotics. When that happens, doctors have very few treatments options left. That sounds simple, but in reality, developing a new antibiotic molecule is one of the hardest challenges in pharmaceutical research. Scientists may spend more than a decade testing thousands of different molecules before finding one that works. Most of those molecules fail. Even after a successful discovery, the drug has to go through laboratory testing, animal testing, studies of different parameters, clinical trials, and strict regulatory reviews before it can reach patients. It requires huge investments, years of research, and there is no guarantee of success. That's why very few completely new antibiotics have been developed in recent decades. And this is exactly where Zaynich becomes important. So, what is exactly Zaynich and why is everyone calling it a breakthrough? Zaynich isn't a single new antibiotic, it's a combination of cefepime and cidobactam. Cefepime is already a well-known fourth-generation cephalosporin antibiotic that doctors have used for years to treat several serious bacterial infections. The real innovation is cidobactam. Unlike many older antibiotic combinations that simply protect the antibiotic from bacterial enzymes, cidobactam does much more. It binds directly to penicillin binding proteins or PBB2, an essential protein bacteria need to build their cell wall. At the same time, cefepime mainly targets PBP3. This means the bacteria is attacked at two different points while building their protective wall. Think of it like attacking a building from two weak spots at the same time. It becomes much harder for the bacteria to survive or develop resistance. This unique mechanism is why Wohlfahrt describes Zydbactam as a beta-lactam enhancer rather than just another beta-lactamase inhibitor. But a new idea isn't enough. It has to work in real patients. To test this, Wohlfahrt conducted a global phase 3 clinical trial called Enhance 1. This study included 530 patients across 64 hospitals in different countries, including the United States, Europe, Latin America, and India. Zaynich was compared with meropenem, one of the world's most widely used antibiotics for severe bacterial infections. According to Workhart, 89% of patients treated with Zaynich achieved both clinical cure and bacterial eradication, compared with 68.4 patients treated with meropenem in the study population. These results form the basis for regulatory approval. In May 2026, the US FDA approved Zaynich for treating complicated urinary tract infections, including pyelonephritis, a serious kidney infection caused by the susceptible gram-negative bacteria. This approval is significant because the FDA is considered one of the world's most rigorous drug regulators. Meeting its standards requires years of laboratory research, clinical trials, manufacturing standards, and detailed review of safety and effectiveness. But the biggest achievement isn't just FDA approval, it's what represents India. Does this mean the fight against superbugs is over? Not at all. Bacteria will continue to evolve and new antibiotic resistance will remain a global challenge. That's why medicines like Zaynich must be used responsibly. Overuse or misuse can eventually lead to resistance even against newer antibiotics. Still, every successful new antibiotic gives doctors another powerful option when older drugs stop working. Thank you for watching my video.